Dementia is the collective name for a group of disorders characterized by mental confusion, disorientation, memory problems, misperception, and sometimes behavioral problems. Each disorder has its own unique features, but the common factor amongst the dementias is that brain cells are dying quicker than normal. Before describing the various types of dementia, let's look at the brain. The brain is a fatty organ with the consistency of a jelly and is housed in a hard, bony casing called the skull. The brain contains millions of cells which are served by an enormous blood supply, which constantly provides oxygen and nutrients. Certain parts of the brain have specific responsibilities, such as problem solving, vision, and language. The types of difficulties experienced by someone will depend to a degree on which area of the brain has lost cells. However, it's important to note that there's not a direct link to the cells damaged and the behaviors we may see. For our purposes, we'll describe 4 large brain areas and the types of functions that cells in these areas are responsible for. It's also important to remember that the brain has 2 sides, the left and right hemispheres, and each of these controls different skills. The frontal lobe is located at the front of the brain and is associated with problem solving, personality, and motivation. It receives information from other areas of the brain and uses this information to make sensible decisions. Damage to the frontal lobe can lead to changes in personality, mood, and insight. It's the bit of the brain that tells us what's appropriate or inappropriate and stops us doing or saying things that aren't socially acceptable. The temporal lobe is located in the bottom section of the brain, at the level of the ears. It's important for interpreting sounds, language, and vision. The right and left sides have different functions, the left being more responsible for verbal skills and the right for visual. The hippocampus is also found here and is involved with memory. Damage to the temporal lobe can lead to problems with memory, speech, and language. The parietal lobe is located in the middle section of the brain and is associated with movement, spatial awareness, speech, visual perception, recognition, and processing tactile sensory information, such as pressure, touch, and pain. Damage to the left side is associated with problems with language and naming things, while damage to the right causes difficulties in making things, drawing things, and carrying out personal care activities. The occipital lobe is located at the back of the brain and is associated with vision. Damage to this part can cause visual problems such as difficulty recognizing objects, an inability to identify colors, and trouble recognizing words and detecting movement. Damage to this area can also produce visual hallucinations. Before moving to the next section, pause to take time to familiarize yourself with the brain and its functions.